Hi guys, welcome to another edition of You Can't Win Anything with Kids, Manchester United. And basically, what I've done today is I've actually skipped through the pre-season. This was supposed to be a recap episode of the first season, but really I thought there wasn't much point because throughout the season I've been given updates on all the youth players. So what I'll do just now is I'll bring you up to date with how we've done in this pre-season, what transfers I've made, and most importantly what the youngsters are doing throughout the career. And what I'll do then is probably not play a live com today, but I'll make the first live com the Chelsea game because we've got the Community Shield today, and that's really just a glorified pre-season friendly. So what I'll do is I'll play the Chelsea game next episode. So this is just really a recap episode, just to let you know what's happened over the course of the last couple of months since the last episode. So without further ado, let's get into probably the most exciting thing for you guys is the transfers. What I've done this season is I've brought in a lot of players. Well, a couple of big players, because the whole point in this series is all about the Thistle kids that we brought in the first season, seeing how they would do. Now, I thought long and hard, and I thought, well, we've got an average team, an average squad, so a couple of really good players in and several average players out is really how I was going about that. Because obviously the kids will be playing a lot of games this season because it's obviously second season. So um, what I've done is I'll show you through the transfers out first of all. Um, so what we've done, if we can get this spot on, right? So starting from the biggest transfer fees, obviously. Um, well, first of all, we sold Phil Jones to Real Madrid for 24.5 million. I thought that's a great deal. He was an average player. Only really played last season 17 league games, and 5 of them were off the bench. So to be honest, he was a luxury. And to get 24.5 million for him, we'll take that every day of the week. This keeps on randomly going back to that. So it's Daley Blind went to Arsenal, obviously, our Premier League rival, 23.5 million. Again, he only played 9 games last season for us in the league. Um, Not really a big favourite of Daley Blind, to be honest. He was an average player at best in the Premier League. Um, so happy to get 23 million for him. So I'll take that any day. Marcus Rojo, the third centre back to leave the club. Again, another one who terrible, terrible. I mean, he played a few games last season, 18 in the league, 9 off the bench. But I just felt to get 21 million for him again is huge. He was never going to feature this season, or very rarely anyway this season. 26 and his current ability is 2-star. It was never going to happen. So next up would be, if we do this properly, Ander Herrera went to Tottenham again, another rival for the Premiership title. But again, kind of average. He played a lot of games last season just because he was in that position where we didn't have anyone. So he played 17 games in the league, 4 appearances off the bench. Obviously played in European competitions as well. But I felt that getting 15 million from him, we took a loss on the overall deal, but that was Man United overspending on an average player, to be fair, as opposed to me getting rid of him for cheap. So I'll take that. I mean, he's 26, so he's still got room to grow in himself, but I don't think that he would have been first team for us this season. So next up would be Antonio Valencia, who hardly features at all for us now. We got rid of him for 7.5 million. But did he even play a game? No, I don't think he did last season. No, that was the season before. No, he never played a game for us at all. So we got rid of him for 7.5 million. We'll take that quite happily. Next up was Adriano, who we got rid of fairly cheaply, obviously. I mean, we brought him in for 1.9, we sold him for 2.9. To be fair, we'll take that. He had 9 games for the club, 4 starts, 5 off the bench. Not a very good signing from myself in the first season. I thought he would do well as a sort of backup left back, but he never really turned out to play that well. So pretty disappointed with him, but good that we gained the profit on him. Next up, Sam Johnson, Tyler Blackett, Will Keane all going out for small fees to Hull, Sunderland and Bristol City. They were never going to make it at this club. Never. Free transfer a lot of players just to... they were basically Man United youth players from the start of the game. There was a lot of them that weren't going to make it at all. I mean, even Ashley Fletcher, despite him getting trained up by Wayne Rooney and stuff like that, he was never going to make it. So next we go on to the loan, the players that have let out on loan. Now Luke Shaw, I've let him on loan to Roma. What we're getting is we're getting 100 grand a month, and they're paying, I think it's 40% of his wages. Basically, this isn't really a case of we needed to get him football. This was a case of how he reacted with the Champions League, getting sent off and stuff like that in the semi-final. And also the fact that he's been giving me cheek in the media. I'm not having that. We've got Michael McMullen and we've got James Penrice, who will quite happily take up that role and develop themselves into left back. So he can go and play in Serie A with Roma all season. I made sure all the loan signings that they were detailed as at least first team, if not key player, because I'm not wanting these guys to just sit on the bench. So that was the first loan signing, or first big loan signing. Victor Valdez, we've let him go out to Verona. Again, it's more a case of getting him games and getting him off the, getting some wages back from him because he's never going to start. We've got Connor Cullen, we've got David De Gea, so just get him out on loan. 28 grand a week, plus he's a key player for them, so he'll be starting every week for Verona. So that's really good. Then it's hold the youngsters from the Manchester United youth team. What I've also done though, and somebody might be surprised at this, is I've actually let a couple of the players that were training up go out on loan. Now, Declan McDade was going out on a season-long loan to Hibs. The reason I did that is because they were offering him first-team football in the Scottish Premier League. Now he got 31 games on loan to Chesterfield last season. He came back, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's improved quite a bit from where he was. And I'm thinking, well, if he goes out another season on loan to a Scottish Premiership club, then he'll more likely come back and he'll be one of our first teamers because, as I said, the whole point in this episode, or these episodes, this series, is to build up these guys into proper Premiership, like English Premiership footballers. So I'm thinking a season on loan with Hibs, 30 games or so, Scottish Premier League, that'll give him enough experience to come back to the English Premiership and see how he does. The other ones that we like on loan, Ryan Scully on loan to Luton. Now, he hardly played at all last season because of Connor Cullen. And when he's been out, he's only really had one loan spell out at Leyton Orient. He got one game, conceded 2 goals. He played one game for us, conceded 2 goals, plus 1 cup game. Just one sub appearance and conceded 2 goals. So, not looking too great for him. He's already played one game for Luton before our season even started and conceded 2 goals. So at least you can say he's consistent. It's nothing but consistent. But I feel that he could use a season out on loan. He's supposed to be Luton Town's star keeper all season, so hopefully he'll come back buoyed from getting 40, 50 games for Luton Town, and hopefully he'll come back having League 2 experience and should be able to improve on what he was at the start of the season. The other ones that we let go on loan, and some of these might surprise you, David Wilson. on loan to Ross County for the season. Again, a season-long loan. I just felt that, having played for us 10 times last season, most of it was off the bench. He needed first-team football. He needed first-team football for a season, a total season of just playing games. He got 11 on loan to Gillingham. Disappointing his loan to Scunthorpe, which got nothing. But I think that was because of his injury at the time. He's already played a game for Ross County, so he's going to be first team for them all season. So that'll get him game time, and then he'll come back to us again, and we'll be able to reassess his situation when he comes back. But the whole point is give him game time for a season, train him up for a season, give him game time for a season, train him up for a season. So that's the guys that we've let go or sent out on loan. You'll notice Anthony Martial going out to Roma as well. Again, it's another 17 goals, 34 games for Sociedad. And I think going on to Roma this time, it's another test, a different test from Liga BBVA to Serie A. So it's a different test from, and I think he'll grow as a player from that. So on to the players in. Now I'll start off with the free transfers. Ezekiel Lavezzi from PSG. Now I might have said this in the previous episode, but I got him on a Bosman. He was the only player available on a Bosman that I really thought could add something to the team. He's experienced. He's currently, if I remember rightly, he's tutoring Kesh Janssen, who's another youngster that we brought in. He will add depth to the squad. He's not going to be a starter, but he will add depth to the squad. And we get him in for free. And when you see that we've let go guys for 25 million, 20 million, to get a guy this good for free, good rating for senior team. He's leading player for most Premier League sides. Third best attacking midfield left. I know we don't play attacking midfield left, but he can also play midfield centre. He can play numerous positions. And I just feel that he would add something to the club, if only experience for training the youngsters. Next up is the aforementioned Keshi Anderson. This guy was brought to my attention by one of the scouts actually. He was released from Queen's Park, Crystal Palace, and I just thought I'll take a punt on him because I think he's okay. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be brilliant, but loan him out every so often, see how he does, and make a profit. That's what I'm thinking with him. I'm not thinking start him every game or whatever. I'm just thinking develop him on for a season, send him out on loan for a season, develop on, send him out on loan, and eventually he turns 26, 27, sell him for a fortune. So, which will allow us to buy more big players to accompany the youngsters that we're developing in this session. So, next up, the third smallest transfer was Ryan Bennett from Watford. Again, a youngster, regen. What a head of hair, by the way. Jeez, high potential. This guy was brought to my attention just in my sort of usual searching. And I think he's got potential to be superb. I'm looking at him basically being a developmental player again. He's not going to take the place of any of the Thistle lads, but he's a really good guy to have around the team, and I'm thinking that perhaps he might be really good going forward, and maybe a possibility of selling him for a higher fee, or him helping bring on the youngsters as well, because obviously if you're playing with better players, then you're going to improve. So if Ryan Bennett's say 4-star, and say Stuart Bannigan's 3-star, if Ryan Bennett's playing alongside Stuart Bannigan, some of that might rub off. You never know. So now on to the meat and potatoes of the transfer window, and you've probably seen this already, but Martin Odegaard. Now I thought long and hard about it, but he was available. The minimum fee release clause was available. Now, if you don't know about Martin Odegaard, where have you been? Supposed to be the next biggest prospect in the world, and he's currently out injured with damaged Achilles tendon, which is stunting his sort of ability at the moment. But he didn't really get a game for Real Madrid last season. In this game, 3 games, 2 goals, but that was enough to make me think, actually I'm going to pay that 16.75 million for him. there was his release clause. Bring him into the squad and just say, well, you can play alongside everyone. We'll train you up as a youngster. We'll play you games. I think he's got great potential to be fantastic, obviously. And overall, I think really good prospect for our team. I think it's 16.75 million snip. Next up, Raphael Varane. Now, obviously, I've mentioned in the previous episode that the board had said initial budgets were 131 million. To be fair to them, the actual budget they gave me was 132, and obviously that was changed because of the transfer fees that we received and all the rest of it. So I decided to plump for Varane because I thought, we've got Smalling in there. Obviously, Liam Lindsay's the centre back that we're training up. Scott Whiteside as well. But we've let go of Rojo, Jones, and who's that other diddy centre back that I got rid of? I cannot honestly remember who it was. Daley Blind. Yeah, Daley Blind. So I thought we'll bring in Varane. But he's an amazing player for our first team at the moment. World class player. International experience. He's 23 years old, which means that he can't tutor anyone yet. But in a year's time, he'll be able to tutor Liam Lindsay, probably, or Scott Whiteside, or someone else in the squad. But again, he is immense. I mean, you just look at his stats and you think, wow, what a centre half. And I just think that he'll add something to the team. He was a regular for Real Madrid last season, but I felt that signing him for that, it was a lot of money, but it was available to me. And when that money's available, you got to spend it in the right way. Splash out big on a couple of players that will make the difference this season. Now, obviously, I did mention that we'd let a lot of players go, so my initial thought was that we'll sign two big players, a couple of average Joes, and then allow the kids more game time next season, which is what we're going to do. The other player that we signed for 88 million, we've re-signed Paul Pogba. Now, obviously, for those of you that don't know, Paul Pogba has an even more famous brother. His name is Matthias. He plays for Partick Thistle. He's a striker, a bit of a club icon, I suppose you could say, at the moment. Obviously, because he is Paul's brother. But I thought, bring Paul to the club. He's possibly the best player that we could have got at the time, and he's in a position that I think we could use. We're getting rid of. So we got rid of a lot of players, and we could use someone of his quality. Morgan Schneiderlin, just to let you all know, Morgan Schneiderlin will be leaving the club shortly, as well. He's not. Just basically transfer list him just before I started this video. He's just average for the club, so he'll be leaving, which really leaves us with Pogba, Schweinsteiger, Bannigan, for that sort of midfield centre role. I think there's a couple more players. Yeah, I mean obviously Andy McCarthy, another youngster. Juan Mata can play attacking midfield. Doherty is another one. But and obviously Odegaard will be in there as well. Jordan Leyden. But and obviously Ryan Bennett, the youngster, can also play in there. But what I've done is I've basically thinned out the squad a wee bit to allow for the better players. And to allow the youngsters to flourish. So this season you can see a lot more of the youngsters playing. Whether we win, we lose, or we draw, it really doesn't matter because what I will say is I got a new 3-year contract, and that was what I was really aiming for last season with the end of the season games. Playing basically playing a lot of experienced lads to get us over the hill, or something over the hill. Shut this. They were over the hill, to get us over the line, to get us that because really, I mean, the board are happy now Last season's successes remain fresh in our memories, and our appraisal of your current performance takes that fully into account. So, realistically speaking, that helped us big style. We This season it's a similar type of thing. In our competitions, win the Premier League, reach quarter-final of the Champions League, reach the final FA Cup, cap at one cup, and the Community Shield. Not important. So, realistically speaking, winning the Premier League and reaching the quarter-final of the Champions League, must do's. Must do's. Same as last season. FA Cup, Capital One Cup, Community Shield, again, it's going to be developmental teams in that, and it could involve a lot of high profile players, but then again, it might not. It'll depend on who's available at the time, who's fit at the time. Right, so that's the sort of rundown of what we've done to improve the squad. Just to take you through a couple of the lads, obviously you'll know them all by now if you've been watching this series from the start. But just to run down the lads that we're constantly keeping an eye on as far as their development in this series. Connor Cullen in goals, looking relatively improved on last season. Certainly, I did make a point at the start of the season that his kicking was 7, and I thought that was a bit bizarre. But his kicking's obviously gone up to 8. Other attributes have improved as well. Really happy with his development. Matthew McAnally didn't get as many games as I thought he might last season, but obviously I loaned him out to Stranraer, so he got some good game time there. Again, improved greatly on last season's stats. He'll improve greatly for more game time in the Premiership this season, and obviously the cup competitions too. So really looking forward to his development this year. Liam Lindsay, again similar. He got actually a lot more games than most people last season. And it might look like he's not got that much development to make. However, in most of the games last season, he played really quite well. I was quite proud of the fact that he got 6.92 for a youngster, playing 26 games for the club last season in the league. In fact, his cup games were 7.33, which is very impressive. But overall, I think he improved a lot last season. He learnt a lot from the players around him, and hopefully he will improve again this season. Michael McMillan had a bit of a strange season. He was, loaned out to FC United for 4 games. He played 16 games in the league for us. He improved greatly in his stats, but the coaches still don't rate him that highly. Whereas I do, and he's with obviously Luke Shaw being removed to Roma, just simply because, well, shall I say, a minor falling out with the manager. This guy will be playing more games this season, as well obviously James Prentice, but or Penrice. I keep on calling him Prentice for some reason. But he will be our starting left back all season, in my opinion, unless Penrice does something really special. So, Stuart Bannigan. This was the slightly older player that we'd signed, who everyone would have been thinking, well, why did you sign him? But he was Mr. Thistle, and he's a great player. I think he's good for the Premiership. He played a lot of games last season for us, Hull and Brentford, on loan as well. So he played 7 games on loan and 26 games for us in the league. And his stats bear out that he's a good all-round player. And I think a wee bit more development for him, I think, this season. Hopefully his stats will be able to hone up. I'm looking at him, box-to-box midfielder, obviously. Looking to increase his strength this season because 12 not great, but that will hopefully improve this season. Andy McCarthy's one that I want to see improve this season, big style. He's only 5'1", so obviously he's not going to have the best strength in the world, and 8 stone 4. I don't think actually that's even legal for a person to be 8 stone 4 at 17 years old. But I would think he'd be starting more often than not this season. He's obviously got one Matt in that position for the big games, but this guy needs development time. He only played 4 games last season, scoring 1 goal. But I really do feel that he needs game time this season to bring him on. He was 16, he was a raw 16-year-old last season. I think this season he could be really, really important for us. Next up is Kevin Nisbet. Again, a player who I'd started off the season by playing him all the time, and by the end of it, he only had 19 league games to show for it, which in the end of the day is half the league games he participated in, which is good, and 5 cup games. Now, he obviously got 7 games on loan, Newport County and Greenock Morton, so hopefully that will stand him in good stead. Again, similar thing to everyone else as last season. I'm planning on loaning players out for maybe a month or so at a time to different clubs, just to maybe try and get them all on 2 different loans every season, to try and develop them, give them more game time at different levels, see how well they do. Because obviously, if you're used to playing the Premiership, if you then go down to the Scottish Championship, then it's going to be easier opposition, so you're going to look like a more standout player and therefore get better ratings, etc. etc. Whereas you might not develop for that month, but when you come back, you'll have gained that experience of being the top man at that club and therefore be ready to just train like a bastard basically and get your head down and get into the squad. So that's Nizzy. So next up is the aforementioned James Penrice. Sorry, James, for getting that wrong so many times. He has improved bucket loads. Again, he didn't play that many games last season, only 8 in the league. But he's another one that I think will be vying for that left back spot. Great stats, looking like if we train him up right, he could develop into something really special. I'm going to change his training, I think, to complete wing back because that will help him grow in other areas, and also it's where we're playing on that full back position. We've got him training on gets forward whenever possible, so that will hopefully help his development as well. So next up, Dominic Docherty, who, if I'm honest, it's been a disappointing transfer for him. I am trying to loan him out, but to be fair, it's been pretty disappointing for him since joining Man United. He's not played many games. In fact, he's only played 1 in 3 cup games. Really hasn't had the development time that I would have hoped. So I'm looking at loaning him out this season, get maybe 30-40 games, hopefully, for him. See how he does. Maybe play him a couple of times for us as well. Try and develop him more. He's 19 now, so he really needs to be playing regular. So hopefully he'll get that as well. Next up, Neil McLaughlin, who again alone didn't play that many games last season. Surprisingly, I'm looking back at this and thinking, why didn't I play him that often? But I suppose he got 9 games overall if you include subs appearances in all competitions. So not great, but his stats have improved greatly since the last season. He's looking like a more game ready, I suppose you'd say, player. He's got a very excellent rating for the youth team. So hopefully he'll be featuring more in games this season as well. Obviously it depends because obviously attacking midfield centre will only play one of them. It's been Mata who's been mainly taking that role in previous games. So hopefully McLaughlin will step up to the plate on that one. Let's see, is there anyone else? Apart from the ones I've already mentioned out on loan. Jordan Layden, another one who didn't play that many, in fact didn't play any games for us at all. He was out on loan at Forfar, got 17 games, so that was handy. So again, probably another loan out for him this season. Scott Whiteside, backup centre back at best for us. He was on loan at Marine last season, 31 games. So that's obviously standing him in good stead for game time. Still young enough to make an impression, but not very impressed so far with what he's done since joining the club. Obviously game time limited for him. Mark Lamont again, game time total limited for us last season. No games, he got 1 game on loan for Blythe Spartans. Disappointed in that. So he has not developed at all the way I thought he would. But again, stats slightly improving. He's still only 18, so a decent loan out this season, coupled with a good couple of months, good training, should hopefully stand him in really good stead. And that's really it for that. The only other things to tell you about is I've transfer listed Wayne Rooney. He's just been really irritating me. I don't know whether you guys have found this as well, but he's just an argumentative shit. I don't know whether he's like that in real life or not. I can't really comment, but in this game, he's an argumentative shit. Comes up, he's always the one that if you say a really good team talk, he's the one player at the side that won't get a good reaction. He's the one player that always comes up with some kind of complaint about training or whatever. And to be honest, he's on 200 and how much? 235,000 a week. My thought is get him out the club basically. Get that money could be used elsewhere to good effect, and so I'm not really bothered what fee we get it from. Admittedly, has scored 175 goals for the club, but we don't need them. And we don't need that kind of dressing room atmosphere either. So I've transfer listed him and removed him as captain. And the person that I have chosen as captain is Gonzalo Higuain, who, I mean, is determination 16, leadership 12, so it's not the greatest captain, but I mean, he led the line so well last season with 49 goals. He's experienced. He's one of the most experienced guys in the team. And I thought, although I could have played, I could have had Schweinsteiger. I just thought that playing Higuain, he's now fluent in English as well, so that'll really help him develop the youngsters on as well. Being the captain gives them good experience. Hopefully that'll suit us well, and obviously Stuart Bannigan still the vice captain. He's now worth 4 point. How much was that? 4.8 million, which is quite impressive for someone that we signed for 675 grand. He's got 2 Scotland caps now. He was in the Scotland squad fairly recently. I think he's still a current internationalist, if I've got that right. Yeah, he's a current international. So really impressed with him, how he's developing. So, well guys, I'll leave it there. Hopefully that's a good enough rundown of what's happened since we last spoke, and hopefully you'll have enjoyed this episode, and hopefully you'll be looking forward to our first game of the season against Chelsea. So I'll play the Community Shield offline, and obviously we'll come back for the Chelsea game. Then I'll be looking to get one game a month as per last episodes, season as well. Champions League group will be interesting. Hopefully we'll get someone fairly okay in that. We should be top seeds hopefully because we won the league. So hopefully we'll be going in there as top seeds. So we should be expected to win the league. So that'll be it for today's episode, guys. So leave a like on the video if you're enjoying this series, if you're happy to see it continue, and I'll see you guys next time.